Hi everyone, it's Tina. Today I'm here to show you how to use your Distress Oxides to create a background. I've been asked by several people to do a video tutorial because they're intimidated by the inks and they've seen my backgrounds. And I was quite flattered because there are many videos out there, so I'm happy to share with you a video today. And I thought I would spice things up a little bit by showing you using regular cardstock versus Tim Holtz alcohol ink paper. The regular cardstock will give it a muted background, whereas the alcohol ink, after when you apply Distress Glaze, it'll actually show you every level. So I'm going to be doing the regular cardstock first, and then I will be doing the alcohol inks, and both are beautiful. It just depends what you're going for. So I'm now applying the three colors to the craft mat, and I'm using Broken China, Faded Jeans, and Cracked Pistachio. And it's best to use a craft mat because it holds the moisture in. So I'm spraying it with water, and now I'm going to be taking my cardstock and just dipping it into the wet ink. And don't worry about what it looks like at this point. Yes, it looks like a mess, but you're going to see a beautiful background come alive. So it's very important that every layer you have to heat set. If you don't, the colors are going to mix and it's going to be like a mud, and you don't want that. You want the distinction between the colors. So I'm heat setting it, and sometimes there are areas where it won't dry. So what I end up doing is I use a Scott towel just to pick up that moisture from those areas that are not drying. And I'm dipping it back in, and again, so in order to not make this video too long, I'm speeding up the process. And so basically I'm just repeating the steps over and over again. I'm dipping in the next layer, I'm heat setting it, drying it completely before I do the next layer. And I keep doing this until I'll get the desired effect. Now, don't be afraid. The more you add, it's okay. It will not do anything. As long as you heat set it in between each layer, you're going to end up coming out with this beautiful background. And once in a while, I like to turn the cardstock over and heat set it on the other side. This will prevent your paper from warping, because it will happen. Once your paper is wet, warping will occur. So just periodically turn it around, heat set it on the other side, and it'll level out the paper. So basically, I'm adding in just a little bit more Faded Jeans to some areas because I didn't feel like I picked up enough of it. I kept going for the lighter colors. So now I'm going to be adding some water, and this is a fun technique. You see a lot of people doing it. You spray water on your background, and in the areas where the water has touched, it's lightening up the inks, and this just creates such a beautiful droplet effect. You can do it directly from the bottle, which I do tend to use, but I find that with a paintbrush you have a more controlled area where you want the water effect. So it all depends on what you're going for. I wanted a more controlled, so I'm just flicking the brush in the areas. I'm taking a Scott towel, I'm dabbing at it so that I pick up the excess water, and I like to also run it with the heat tool. This just, but in between stages, this just sets it. Now for the final stage, what I like to do is go in areas where I think I didn't get enough of the ink color. So what I'm doing is I'm just spraying some water on the Faded Jeans, and I'm picking it up with my brush and I'm flicking it on my paper. This just fills in the areas where I believe it could have used more ink. and it creates a nice effect as well. So you can use a thin brush like I'm using, or you could have used a thicker brush to have bigger droplets, but this just helps to blend everything better. So now what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to do the alcohol ink paper. I won't do the video on it. I'll just show you the finished one. It's basically doing everything that I just did for this one. So I'm gonna do that and I'm gonna come back. So I have both backgrounds side by side. The one on the right is using the regular cardstock. The one on the left is using the Tim Holtz alcohol ink paper. Right now there's no difference between the two. Both were done the same way. I use the same colors, so there's no difference. But because the alcohol ink paper has this glaze to it, as soon as I apply Distress Glaze, that's going to change everything. So I'm placing a paper on my mat to protect it, and I'm going to be applying the Distress Glaze with an ink applicator. I'm going to just gently take a little bit of the glaze. You don't need a lot. A little bit goes a long way. In a circular motion, I'm applying the glaze to the paper, and look what happens. Every layer, every color has become defined. It's like looking at a 3D. I'm actually very impressed. Before this tutorial, I had not tried out the alcohol ink paper with Distress inks, and I have to say that it definitely has changed the whole look. So I do like the chalky effect that you get with the regular paper, but I have to say I like the 3D effect that you get with the alcohol ink paper. Now, because you have excess glaze on it, I'm going to be using a microfiber cloth and just removing the excess. This also helps to protect your project. So if you were to use this on an envelope or whatever, this would protect your project. So if accidentally water gets spilled on it or inks or whatever, it will not mess up your project. So side-by-side comparison, you can see there's a difference. The regular cardstock has chalky effect, and the alcohol ink has this 3D effect. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. So thank you for stopping by, and have a wonderful day. See you again soon.